Question number 11, Clare Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Broadcasting. Does he stand by the Prime Minister's statement in relation to the appointment of the Prime Minister's electorate chairman, Stephen McElrea, to the New Zealand On Air board that, quote, "If you look at the vast array of appointments we make, I think the balance is about right"?
The Honourable Craig Foss.
Yes.
Clare Curran.
Supplementary. Did Mr. McElrea making a complaint to the New Zealand On Air CEO and the board chair about the child poverty documentary screened on TV3 give a perception of political interference, and if not, why?
The Honourable Craig Foss.
Decisions of the board are of the board. I deal with the chair of the board, Mr. Speaker, and that is a matter for the board.
Clare Curran.
Supplementary. Is he aware that Mr. McElrea is part of an operational working group within New Zealand On Air, which includes staff and a representative of MediaWorks, which is determining the content of 4 documentaries funded by more than $1 million by New Zealand On Air?
The Honourable Craig Foss.
I have full confidence in the chair of the board and the board, and the 6 members of the board, 3 of which have been appointed under the National Government and 3 were appointed under the previous Labour Government.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Clare Curran. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. That question began with the words, was the Minister aware? Now, he may be, he may not be, but he didn't actually address the question of his awareness of that matter.
I think the member has some reasonable grievance in the point of order raised, I think, because the question did indeed start that way and there was no indication whether the Minister was aware. And I invite the member to repeat a question. Clare Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is he aware that Mr. McElrea is part of an operational working group within New Zealand On Air, which includes staff and a representative of MediaWorks, which is determining the content of 4 documentaries funded by more than $1 million by New Zealand On Air?
The Honourable Craig Foss.
Speaker, the decisions and processes and structures set up by the board under the Crown Entities Act 2004 therefore are of the board, and it's not appropriate for me to comment on those matters of the board's internal structures.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Same point of order, Mr. Speaker. Very simple question. It mightn't be appropriate for him to interfere. All he was asked was, is he aware? Most ministers would read reports of board minutes of that sort, and all we
order the members now debating the issue. And I mean, the question was a very simple question, asked whether the Minister was aware. The Minister's answer was that he doesn't get involved in matters to do with the board. Now, that could be interpreted he's not aware. My suggestion in solving this sort of dilemma is to even sharpen the question down more, because the question went on to contain a whole lot of information about what this board member may or may not be involved in. It contained detail and gives the Minister more out. If the question is sharpened down to whether he's aware that a certain board member is involved in a certain group, full stop, it's very difficult then for the Minister to... but the more detail that's built into the question about what might be going on within the organisation that the board is responsible for, the more opportunity for the Minister to give the kind of answer the Minister did, because ministers aren't responsible for what goes on in there. So I feel there is still further supplementary question. I've given a fair hint where I might be even more supportive. The Honourable David Parker, point of order.
Sir, the more specificity in the question, the more easier it is for the Minister to deny that he is aware. The extra specificity is already in the question, and all the Minister has to do is say whether he is aware or not aware in order to address the question.
The dilemma, though, with the rules around answering questions is that the more material that's in a question, the more opportunity for the Minister to focus on that material rather than the bit that the member wanted asked. Now, I believe there is a way to... the Minister has given an answer. I accept the dissatisfaction. I understand the dissatisfaction with the answer. But there are more supplementary questions available. And to me, I'd rather than me try and decide whether or not the Minister has given an adequate answer is give the member the chance to dig even more precisely into the matter.
Point of order, Mr.
Point of order,
Mr.
Clare
Speaker. I'm happy to rephrase the question with more specificity.
Well, the member has more supplementary questions, so she's perfectly liberal. The member certainly has one more supplementary question, but it's not my fault if the member's party has given away some supplementary questions. Clare Curran.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker. Why is it appropriate for Mr. McElrea, the Prime Minister's electorate chair, to be part of a working group within New Zealand On Air that is making decisions on the content, programming and other operational decisions of a taxpayer-funded documentary entitled Whānau Ora, which is described as a, quote, behind-the-scenes look at the implementation of this new initiative that seeks to deliver positive social outcomes for Māori?
The Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr. Speaker, again, I do not think it is not appropriate for me to comment on individual members of the board. The board operates under the Crown Entities Act 2004 and as they follow due process, due diligence on appointments and the monitoring and management thereof.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Could the Minister please tell the country as to whether anybody over there knows anything about this very expensive brown elephant in the name of the Maori Party? And has he discussed it with the Prime Minister? After all, this man is his electorate chairman and presumably has the odd discussions with his now sometimes visitor to Helensville.
The Honourable Jerry Brownlee, point of order. A point of order has been called.
Mr. Speaker, at very best, a little bit of that question might be in order, but no, certainly the first part wasn't, and nor is the last.
I think in fairness, the point of order is reasonably well made. I mean, I'd invite that. I'm not going to take a supplementary question away from the member, but I invite him to repeat the supplementary question in a way that makes it possible for a minister to answer.
Well,
the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Given the Minister's last answer, which was that he didn't want to answer, could he please tell me who over there...
Order. Now, the member will lose a supplementary question if he's not careful. That is not how supplementary questions are asked. The member will now ask his supplementary question in an intelligible way. The Right Honourable Winston
Could the Minister tell us whether he or any of his colleagues are prepared to tell the country as to what is happening with Whānau Ora funding and why it justifies a documentary on it at this point in time involving someone who is so close to the Prime Minister as to be his electorate chairperson?
I've noticed.
Point of order, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, the first part of that question remains completely out of order. The next bit may just sneak in, but by your previous rulings, I would doubt it.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters first.
With great respect, I think parliamentary question time is when the ministers are required to answer. This idea and saying you're not going to answer anything is repulsive to democracy.
Order. I absolutely agree with the member that ministers should answer questions. In fact, I've been trying to insist on that. Maybe I've let a few get away with a little bit too much today in that regard. But the member knows he's got to ask a minister a question on a subject for which the minister is responsible. This minister is not responsible for Whānau Ora, if I understand what is going on. And the first part of that, the primary part of that question asked the member if he could tell the House what is going on with this program called Whānau Ora. Now that is not that... Well, I invite... Order. Now, order. I accept it's the second day back and sometimes change procedures take a little while, but we don't behave that way. Now I'm going to invite the member to phrase his question in a way that makes it clearly the responsibility of this minister, and I'm still on my feet, makes it the responsibility of this minister a question that is in order. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
As the Minister of Broadcasting...
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
I apologise to the member. So I think there's 2 points that I want to make, and I want to be careful about relitigating a decision you just made. But asking what's special about a program that justifies a documentary, I think is something that is the responsibility of the Minister of Broadcasting. The second point that I'd make is, sir, you are narrowing matters down when in fact, if this question had been allowed to go through by the government, if the Prime Minister had not ducked it, it would be clearly within his responsibility.
Order. The member may have noticed that I did not rule out any of the supplementary questions of his colleague. I felt they were perfectly within the responsibility of the Minister. All I'm asking the Right Honourable Member to do is ask a question that is clearly within the responsibility of the Minister, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Again to the Minister. What in his portfolio gives him to believe that a documentary, which is part of the portfolio that he is administering, should be allocated to a social or economic program with respect to Maori affairs, and be of such importance as to engage the chairman of the Prime Minister's electorate, and whether that in any way is appropriate?
The Honourable Cherry Brownlee, point of order.
No, I'm sorry. Mr. Peters, I know an awful lot.
Order. The members will. The member resume his seat immediately. Now, order. Both members will be leaving this House very shortly. That will cease immediately. I will not tolerate that kind of nonsense. And the Honourable Leader of the House should know better, even if other members don't. I have ruled that the question is in order. How intelligible it is another matter. But it is in order.
Point of order. Point of order. Point of order.
Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, that is totally out of order. And it's in line with the
order.
The
member will resume his seat. Order. The Speaker decides whether matters are in order or not, and the member's tested my patience quite sufficiently. The member only needs to reflect. I suggest he reads the Hansard. I've ruled the question is in order. I've overruled the objections of the Leader of the House, and I'm inviting the Minister to answer it, the Honourable Craig Foss. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to support the Right Honourable Gentleman, sir. Your rulings were absolutely right, sir. As an umpire, you performed superbly. Sir, the problem was you added a role as a commentator, which put a member down.
The Honourable Leader of the House, and we will not take this much further.
No, but quite clearly, sir, you were suggesting that I was unable to make an intelligent assessment of the question, and I don't have any grudge against you at all for that.
The Honourable Craig Foss to answer the question. Point of order, the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Sir, I recall asking you for a considered ruling, I think, in the last term on the matter, and I'm going to ask the same thing. Are you now saying, as Speaker, is it quite rightly that you judge what is in order or not, and now is it in order for you to abuse a Member of Parliament?
Order. I think members... Order. The whole House just should take a deep breath and not be so childish, for goodness sake. And I listen carefully to every question. I have to assess whether or not the Minister answers it. If I find it difficult to understand what the question is, and I'm not exactly that stupid, then sometimes it's difficult to assess whether or not the Minister has answered it. And I've accepted the questions in order. I'm not going to take any further points of order on this. I warn the member. I've asked the member to answer it, and I want him to give his best effort to answer it. The Honourable Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As far as I remember, Mr. Speaker, ministers do not make decisions about what programs New Zealand On Air funds nor shows. It is a contestable funding model, Mr. Speaker, at arm's length from the government.
Question. I beg your pardon. Order.
Point of order.
Point of order, Clare Curran.
I seek leave to table 4 documents from New Zealand On Air released under the Official Information Act. The first is dated the 26th of May 2011 and is titled A Record of Decisions Made at Working Group Meeting. The second is dated 22nd of September 2011 and is titled Agreement Between MediaWorks and New Zealand On Air. The third is dated 10 November 2011 and is a record of decision of working group meeting. and the fourth is dated 18 November 2011 and is a record of an email conversation between Stephen McElrea and members of the working group.
Leaders sought to table those four documents. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 12, Catherine Delahunty.